introduction, you will know is a big point. Whether I deserve the introduction or not, that's I can be proud. So the chairman of Padmanabhaya, the very distinguished civil servant of this country, Ramesh Kumar, several times here we have the institution which he headed art class or something, the connection. Initial day is still went to visit and learn from. There are several stories across India where excellence shines, but there are also equally large number of stories where we refuse to learn from. Uh, one of the one of the mandates of our commission is we are not a commission for training. Unfortunately, we get bracket as a commission for training because we also oversee all the capacity. I don't like to call them training institutions, but by default, the nation has called them central training institutes, administrative training institutes. I strongly believe, and people who know me must get tired of what I say. I say training is for purpose of happiness, whereas for human beings, we look at capacity building. They're completely different concepts. It's not the semantics, it's partly for building. And more importantly, the capacity building commission doesn't stop us, it doesn't look at individual capacity. The commission looks at in state capacity. State capacity is so complex and state capacity is so dynamic that we have to constantly keep here. So today we'll be talking about, and when I heard the history, though I knew in distant research that the extraordinary roles that ASCI has played in this country for the last several years, uh, I think every organization, when we seek organizational behaviors, we talk of two very important cardinal principles. First principle is where the complete terms with one simple fact. Organizations are born, organizations grow, keep growing. At some point of time, they plateau. And then, when they start believing they're damn good, they start degenerating. And then it takes a lot of effort, visionary leadership, strategic thinking to save the organization. And I remember when Mahatma Gandhi had said this stage, those states, but he said when that state is reached, and he spoke about it in the context of the ASCI set up in Africa, he said it's always in the interest of society to get the organization, not just regenerate but health. Now that's a statement which we can do in the context of an art. But in the context of an institution like ASCI is discovering itself every day, I think it's time for all of us to pause, look at the mirror and ask a very difficult question. And the questions that I'm going to raise today, which is something you might already contemplate, you might already be living with. I just thought I'll place it in a more organized way. The other organizational trend that we notice as we think that is the second cardinal principle which is as students is the first sign. How do you know you're degenerate? Okay, it's all very nice to say we grow, we plateau, and then go down. But how do you even recognize? Because when you're inside an institution, many of us think, like in government, why I'm saying all this is I deal with government. There's a beauty of government is it's not a homogeneous entity as what people think. When you're standing outside, it is a government is like. I used to say that. I used to be a strong critic of the government. I used to write very. Now looking back, I think I would like to rewrite them, but I can't read it in the published. And I have sued the government. I've taken them to court. I've taken them to human rights commission. I've also been beaten up by the government. I've also been thrown into jail. I've also been offered the Padma Shri, it's actually refused. But all that apart, I started off with the notion that government is this. And when you define it in a particular way, you get stuck with the definition. But now that last 3.5 years, I'm an insider to government. I'm an admirer of God. I'm not saying this because of senior officers in here. I'm saying this out of conviction. The kind of resource constraints in which the state operates, the kind of enormous challenges that a political economy poses, the kind of geopolitics that a country operates in, where one statement from one country, one agency can affect the economy of a nation like ours, all its resilience in this country, can wipe out billions of dollars of shareholder shareholding of some corporates. These are realities of today. And how do you deal with it? How do you even deal with it if you're not a learning of it? So you have to discover if you're even learning. If you're not learning, you're degenerating. That's my simple term. If you're not learning, you're how do you discover that you're degenerating? As a physician, we look at signs and symptoms. And as an organizational behavior expert, I can say, you only three cardinal symptoms. The first is if you find anybody in the organization getting more and more comfortable and they start tolerating mediocrity, that is the first sign of weakness. You may okay, I can look at why take it, why take it. Nobody does it. We do the same teaching every time, we do the same training every time, and we don't notice that people are noticing. The second is not only we tolerate mediocrity, is when people in the organization start procrastinating. So we have to set it right, but we do it. It's enough time. The red lights are not on. You're still orange. You worry about it, it takes time. You keep procrastinating. Procrastinating simple decisions, procrastinating hard decisions, procrastinating physical decisions. Especially when you want to clean out a room, dirty, you need a broom. There's no choice. And sometimes we need a very powerful vacuum cleaner. And we have to make this right, and we don't. And that's when the third is when you don't, the leadership of such institutions don't generate the discipline to follow through with the responsibility. I know what needs to be done. I decide and announce what is to be done, but I don't do it. I don't follow it. I announce it. I'll say tomorrow morning, I'm going to go and make ASCI a profit center. In 85 is decided, there will be no profit center. It's no longer a cost center which can run on government grants. It has now earned its own revenues and generate its own expenditures, meet its own expenditures, and therefore it's like a corporate entity. That's a completely different deal. And for that, whoever took the decision has to follow through and make sure it's tempo. And a learning organization actually find you will never solve problems. I realize that. In government, I'm doubly convinced of it. But you always discover newer problems every day. And your ability to solve them keep growing it. You may never solve them, but your ability, that is when you can actually fall after learning. But what does learning truly mean? Because again, several of us operated in context when learning was not a word used in this space. It was always teaching that was a word. I know something, I know a lot, and I will teach you, and you will learn from me. This kind of learning. You're all thinking that. Thinking of Jani here is talking about all of us illusion. We surrender our intelligence to somebody else, and we think that okay, talk. But sometimes we keep thinking in that sort of things he knows, but I have to sit here because there's no there to think it. Our mind will be thinking also. This is reality. These are realities existing. We can't even deny it. I'm also knowing what the performance is waste and we started using this. I saw this great skill. And I'm known for my candidness, sometimes unpleasantly so, but so related with the speech resolution. So learning for a long time, and most of us grew up in that ecosystem. We all grew up in sync, and we all remember our own childhood. A teacher is standing there, teaching, and in a B.Ed program, we need to correct classroom management, maintain eye contact, write like this, speak like this, turn once in a few minutes so that you can see your students. Students anyway can see you. And sometimes they don't even see you, but in a security sense. It's completely different because everybody was trained for a teaching ecosystem. Most of us in this room, except maybe a few editors and specialists, etc., where there's a learning ecosystem, we all grew up in teaching ecosystem. And that served a purpose in a particular point of time. It is unfortunate in a country which thrived for centuries on learning ecosystem, the Gurukula, had to get modernized and then lose our abilities, get macularized, and then we are getting to the pit of teaching ecosystem that when you see, you demand conforming behavior. And the rulers at that time wanted conformist subjects. And therefore, it was in their interest. And we never realized it after independence of saying that. Like the NEC has now philosophically changed a lot, and it operationalized completely, it might actually change a lot more in the ground. But how do you see It's a hierarchical thing. Somebody here knows more, people out there don't know enough, and therefore there's a difference of learning. So I am talking a lot, all of you are listening, and if you presume that you're learners, and I'm doing it as teaching framework, then it's a hierarchical, distributed kind of thing. That is one method of learning. It works for us. The second method of learning is then as students, they go to school in the morning, they don't learn anything, they come home, the parents are very upset, and they'll say, शायद स्कूल में पढ़ाई ठीक से नहीं चल रहा इसलिए ट्यूशन रखना चाहिए ट्यूशन बेच देंगे आजकल का ट्यूशन सेंटर भी स्कूल जैसे बन गए हैं तो इट्स अगेन हायरार्कियल distributor. It's one to many. But olden day tuition, there'll be one old man teaching one side. So it was hierarchical individual. A hierarchical collective is a regular classroom in India today, even today. Some specialized schools might be one-on-one teaching hierarchical individual. But then the world has changed. Today, if you were to talk, I feel like Balasubramaniam introducing this semester or last year, last fall semester, I was teaching at Cornell. And as you are teaching, and there you cannot mandate that you can't get your cell phone, you can't get your laptop, you can't get your iPad into the room. It's more interesting than me for many people, waiting, this is learning. This is what happens in teaching ecosystem. Teaching ecosystem, distractions are very easy. Distractions are the norm. In learning ecosystems, attraction is the norm. It's huge difference. After playing it out, what learning means, and something you can convey. Students are no longer students today because they already know everything that they think they want to know. And they're 19, 20-year-olds to a PhD student in my class, and they're even 30, 40, 50 years old. They are already Googling and ChatGPT has made life worse. And ChatGPT hallucinates, but the student doesn't believe it hallucinates. Because he's not an expert, he can't filter out hallucinations. Whereas as a professor, I can filter it out, but the student doesn't accept me because they accept the ChatGPT. And in class, when I'm teaching some students to pick up his hand and think to ask an intelligent question and say, but professor, you're saying this, but ChatGPT doesn't agree with you saying this. So I am competing with a hallucinating non-entity. A completely different ecosystem because today learning is coming from several spaces. So it is not hierarchical anymore. Completely different. It is a space where it is many to one. I'm learning from 5 different spaces. It's not one to many anymore, it's many to one. People walking into your training institutions today, I was just before coming here as addressing our foundation for students. When people try to finish service exams on ASCI, knowing this, there's always aspiration to they think civil service is only IA. And every service they want, they get in, that itself doesn't satisfy them. Again, they get there, again get into IAs. Until they get the civil exam and they never go to the foundation. And so we are always left with 5-6 batches of people who are unfortunately already in the field. And our government rules are so lax and so wonderfully lenient that we allow them to keep doing this and suffer they don't know the cost it takes is paying by this pseudo acquisition of expertise. And that student thinks he's got a lot of experience at the SDM and DM already. And when he comes into the classroom, a 9-year-old experience with 0 experience is sitting together and he's corrupting everybody else because learning is happening from each other. Many to one, so powerful that we don't recognize it. And that is the norm today. We cannot stop the many thinking out the one. And to make life more miserable, take many to many. And how do you become a learning organization? When you are operating from a one to many situation, whereas the reality of life is many to many. The reality of life, my friends, is no longer can any institution claim consequence of any subject. Neither can ASCI nor can best of hours of learning. Everybody recognizes that today, what we can teach a student is not competence. It's not the ability to operate in zones of competence. Best learning institutions are the ones which can teach your students how to operate in zones of incompetence. But the future is so dynamic. The future is so puzzlingly different that all we can help you learn is how to learn to live with uncertainties of the future and therefore be resilient enough to manage it with the wisdom that we can command at that point of time. We'll have to teach our people not how to get influenced by the experiences we have, but only keep yourself informed by the experiences you have to do. And it's not an easy. Operating in this ecosystem, many of us are not even trained because they're very comfortable topics zones about competence. I'm an expert in land management. I'm an expert in water management. And the expertise I have gained is in a particular idea of water management, but it cannot be a solution today at all. Because I'm no longer relevant in that space. I stick on to my competence because that's where my comfort level comes in. The moment I get challenged by some incompetence, my incompetence gets challenged by difficult questions in the class, it's not the first kind of situation. My teacher would say, "Oh, you think you know more than me? Shut up, sit down." We say it in different ways, but at last place I said, no, the teacher was very hard. Because one day I still remember that I have with all these ideas of learning, and I thought I brought up my son in that very open democratic way. One day he came at 77 years old time, long ago, he came to me and complained and said, Papa, don't mess with my experience. I said, "Oh." He said, you told me if you want to stand and you can ask difficult questions, and my teacher told me that if you open your mouth again, I'll fail you. I rather tell the teacher, answer the teacher what she wants and get a good mark, than get stuck in this mess of listening to my father and lose out my friend also. And that is because the core point is the ecosystem control is not in this. At best, your ecosystem is a room that you're training people. When they get out, the ecosystem is completely different. Are we training for that ecosystem? If you can, then you're doing very, very simple. So how do I tell children? Why do they even come then to school? My job is to oversee close to 350 plus organizations in this country, from the laboratories of the world to police academies to the small academies to the railway system has got 140 institutions. The former Home Secretary knows that the CAPF between them has got another 140 institutions. So each one is very specialized. When you talk to BSF, they will say, no, sir, you never understand this. BSF बहुत special है. The next door, I go to ITT, so ITT said, BS लोग अलग है, sir. हमारा speciality ही अलग है. Both are in the border. And then there's a report which says 75% of all the central forces have the same syllabus. So why can't you see 75% in one institution and 25% in four other institutions in others? We have our own fascinating world, and then we have the Coast Guard, which has no institution at all. But they have to learn how to protect the Coast Guard. I'm giving all this because as a nation, we have not prioritized learning. We have demanded conformity of performance so much that we never understood that learning is the greatest thing we can do. Till the mission Karmyogi was established, we had to, all that we taught our academic were was to help people to learn how to do their work. Today we say your work itself is to keep learning. And if that can be done, I think we'll have a top class government for planning to that private sector. And how do we see that? I'll take a few minutes to talk about. But before that, I just want to talk about what is a good learning institution. How would I judge the say? As he's already there, I can't, find this repetitive, but please bear with me. If you're not there, possibly you'll learn and try to make a few tweaks here and there. We look at 5 P's. And if the institution is capable of answering the 5 questions, 5 major boxes. The first box that we look at is, do you even invest time on knowing who your learners are? Many times, government sends you a list of names, and half of them might come, half of them might not come. If your DG is that way to sending them, maybe you can convince most of them to come. That's the reality of government. And we operate in that ecosystem, whether we negotiate it or not, because we're a supply-driven system. You supply a product, so I have to take it. We're shifting the entire mentality to demand-driven ecosystem, where I demand a particular knowledge in my people and then we prepare yourself to do it. That is very discomforting. It takes a lot of hard work. So do we know as learners? Do we invest our time to understand who is coming into and going to be sitting in my room? What are his needs? What are his application of the knowledge that I'm going to generate? What problem is he going to solve using the kind of intelligence I'm going to give him? Do I have the competence even to be doing? So when you ask difficult questions, then you'll also ask, do you have enough information? You only take qualification, number of years of experience, and you possibly get you 3 years every 4 and something else. I'm not saying that's not important, but that alone may not be what we need. Today, what are we asking our institutions to look for? Is understand your learners. Just a simple set of questions you can ask. You can send out. There are standardized roles for instruments you can roll out. Asking what could be the potential learning style of the person coming into your Zoom. Because if you're talking of learning, you're no longer talking of teaching. Teaching is driven by the teacher's competence. Whereas learning is driven by each person's individualized learning style. All of us have 4 ways of learning. And you don't know who's what, because when they come into your classroom, they don't come with a certificate on their shoulder saying, I learned this way, and you teach me correctly. You are completely surprised by the kind of product he presents again. When you see the semester course, an advantage. But the first 4 or 5 classes, I wouldn't know what student and what learning style. I'll take me at least 2, 3 weeks to get to know them. And then I have at least under 7, 8 weeks or 10 weeks to make sure I get it and enhance learning. But when they come for a 3-day workshop, you have no time for all that. You have to get into the job the next minute. Which means you have to be extra brilliant in understanding learning style. Which means you have to have some way of getting information. And your agency is sending them as no understanding the word learning itself. What is learning style? What questions can you ask them? These are realities. Every faculty must have faced it. I'm repeating something that you already know. If you can learn the visual way. For everything today, we have PowerPoints. I'm also going to show one. But I think what we need are powerful points, not PowerPoint. But we depend so much on Microsoft and others today that we think that everything we want to say, we can put in a PowerPoint. But that is not the only way, because the visual learners may get it. But what about the auditory learner? They're depending on what you're talking to them, how you're attaching the auditory side. What about the kinesthetic learner? What about the read and write learner? We need a package of learning products from reading, writing, and reading the videos to role plays that you play out. All this you need because only when you take care of all the 4 learning styles, all of us have all the 4. The beauty is we have all the 4, but because of environment, culture, schooling, only one learning style dominates. Depending on what my teacher would have told me in the first standard or second term and appreciated, I would have built it more and more and more. Without knowing, I would have adapted to that learning style. Not that I don't have that. The human brain is extremely plastic. Today's research says we can learn anytime, anywhere, any amount of knowledge we can acquire because our brain is capable. If we don't want to believe our brain is capable, then we have to do the hard work of learning. So we sort of tell it, no, you're bad in math, you're bad in biology. And we become bad. Just by not believing. No, you're talking of fishing point. He also writes in his book how he took 10,000 hours of learning, you'll have to become an expert. So, and that's actually research. He writes it in a very simplistic way, but if I do 10,000 hours of only talking very well, I'll also have to become. So how do we learn the learning stuff? And can I catch it in a little time and have to catch? So I need to build skills to understand that they're free. But not only the learning style that matters. I have to give enough information where despite the learning style that is dominant in me, I still pick it. That means I must design the class in such a way that there is enough visual, enough auditory, enough kinesthesia, and enough read and writing that everybody gets something in the room. Otherwise, the learning style with visual will sleep when you're talking. The auditory listener will not even bother if you're making a simulation there. So he doesn't get it lessons like that. You have to look for the damage for this reality and plan for the least problems in the minute. An institution which does not invest on its faculty to learn this will never become a learning opportunity. You have to do hard work to learn. It's not rocket science. Every year at Cornell, we have to take a minimum number of courses at that is. We're not right. Some courses will be so methodically mechanical, posh, research, ethics, etc. I always think, why the hell, how will it change? If you last step to this step, then you realize your definition of ethics is also pure ethics, especially in the world of research. And they were very clear. It was very comprehensive. You don't pass these courses and the HR doesn't get the certificate, automatically they'll get it. The salary is not as equal as that. You can do any amount of teaching, but you not get paid. And you can't negotiate with anybody because HR and payroll are different. The dean is different. You can go fight with your dean, but he can't do it. His salary will not get paid if he doesn't do it. And classes are recorded. I still remember first 15 years ago when I started teaching, I got an email from the registrar, and registrars are not academicians, saying that your teaching analysis has come this way in a 1 hour 20 minutes class. We recognize that you're teaching for 52 minutes and the students only had 28 minutes to interact with you. So this is a graduate class you're teaching. In a graduate class, you are expected to speak 20 minutes and 1 hour is supposed to be it's a fixed classroom arrangement, and maybe you have to go back to your performance or evaluation or something at 4.3 or 5. Cornell believes that his faculty should be 4.7 and above. So if you think you need, they are very polite. The Americans write nice English. If you feel that you need a PIC for a performance improvement program, you'll be happy to sponsor it for you. Essentially saying you're an idiot. If you want to become clever, go take my program, right? Then I realized, oh my God, I didn't even know that I was talking for so long. And we don't know. We think we are not talking, but we know all the stuff. And we are all so in such an urgency to download our stuff when everybody listening to us that we don't even understand whether the fellow is observing each other. We want to download because I know so much. How else can I prove my competence to you? By only saying all the nice words, but it of no use to understand your learners. And remember, if there are adults coming into your room, adults learn differently. 70% of adult learning is experiential. They learn on their jobs. They don't learn in your rooms. Whether you like it or not, when they go back to this job, their undersecretary will come and say, नहीं सर ऐसा नहीं करते हैं. मैंने तो 4 सेक्रेटरी को देख लिया था. इस तरह नहीं करते थे. आप भी ऐसा ही करना पड़ेगा. We tend to listen to him. Though we know it's not appropriate, because we learn on the job every time. What everybody else is doing is what I should be doing. We seek comfort of peers, not excellence by individuals, because we're afraid. It's uncharted territory for us. So we learn 70% experientially. 20% we learn relationally. Even today, I know in the civil services, people will pick up the phone and talk to their batchmate and ask him, hey, आपने क्या किया? मुझे तो ये problem है. आप क्या कर रहे हैं इसके बारे में? And I will respond to his knowledge in a different context and apply it here without knowing it might say. Because my batchmate is done it, so that works. So relational learning is 20%. The strategy is information learning is only 10%. But most of our training programs are reversed. 70% becomes informational, 20% is a group activity. The standardized same group activity. A group activity is driven by the experience you want to create, not the other way around. And information can be 10%. Most of the time, this 10% can be reading this or on a watch a YouTube video or something like that. Just come for the rest into your room. Can you think of that? Next is to understand your learners, you understand the learning facilitator. If you see yourself as a trainer or a teacher, you already become hierarchical. If you see yourself as a learning facilitator, you realize that it's not subject matter expertise, but facilitation expertise that will actually help. Very few of us understand facilitation. Facilitation is driven by respect. Facilitation is driven by your humility. Facilitation is driven by the ability to say, I don't know, I learn it from me. Okay. Because we presume everybody coming into my room for my training session may not know as much as me because that's why they come into my training. No, that is why they come to my training. The moment you flip it and say, I don't know what they're coming in with, they're coming with so fascinatingly different experiences, that I must learn a lot. And I can tell you, I'm telling you with conviction. Every year, I will be very, very, very miserly about letting students into my class. I'd only take certain students from my leadership course and 20 from my development course. Hundreds of students will apply. I'll ask them to write an SOP why they should be in my class. They have to write a research note. As for all the selections, I would select students very, very, very differently. There'll be one doctoral student, an undergrad, 19-year-old first year undergrad, to 23-year-old fourth year undergrad, to a grad student, all kinds of students in all schools, from business school to expert medicine, every other school or in the campus where I was teaching, I would have all kinds of students. And all countries. And people would ask me, why are we teaching like this? And the dean would say, students are complaining they can't get into your class. Why don't you make it 40? Why don't you make it 50? And I would say the real secret is only when I keep the diversity so complex can I learn. It is purely self-interest. It's nothing else. So such experience of come in their interactions. It will be fascinated how an architecture student looks at the leadership problem differently, a veterinary student will look at it differently. A public health student will look at it very differently from an MBA student. We look at very and PhD economics is how if you teach a PhD economics, then you start everybody in the world. Because Bollywood always on the one hand, on the other hand, and you don't know whose hand is talking about. Right? And it's fascinating how the concepts come into classroom. And we learn. So I would always joke and say, Cornell is so kind, it pays me to learn every year. It's a paid holiday for me at Cornell. I get to see paid to see here. Now that is what a learning facilitator can accomplish if we get it back open and into. So you have to understand what we know. More importantly, you will understand what we don't know. And you will definitely understand that there's a lot of things you will not even know that you don't know. And that is what can drive a teaching of learning facilitator to perform. The third is the content. The content is so critical. Let us not look at content as, no, I learned this 40 years ago, so that is very good. I have seen, and pardon me for saying this, but I have seen in Labasna, if our faculty is not driven by their expertise or the needs of the new foundation for students, the foundation kids are, oh my God, these are 72% of the last batch of engineers and most of them from IITs, etc. And you are teaching them the same, you're teaching them economics. They have just mastered the economics and because UPSC is so tough for them. You're teaching them constitution law, which that fellow knows more. And you're bringing in a 40-year-old officer who retired 10 years ago and he started saying, jump my DM stuff. जब वो डीएम के टेलीफोन ही काम नहीं कर रहा आजकल तो सिटीजन आपको व्हाट्सएप पे मैसेज दे रहे हैं डोंट एक्ट पुटिंग इट ऑन ट्विटर नेक्स्ट मिनट how do you help him understand that it's not about what I did 40 years ago? It worked in a particular context. The context is altered. The principles some of them might be the same. Citizen responsiveness might be the same. How do you respond to criticism? You have no idea because you don't respond today. So we need to bring current models of development. And I was very happy when the DB is telling me we are ready to work with young people bringing the talent into us. In the areas where we don't have the talent, so it's okay. That is a learning organization. If you're willing to say that, that is still the 50% of the job. I'm not willing to just go by my position that I know a lot. I'm accepting that there is a lot more that youngsters might know, therefore I'll bring them in. It's a great idea. So content is so important today. And we only look at three things in the government when we say content. If ASCI has to deliver as a learning institution to commission, how would we interview? Just three simple questions. Can people coming into your institution relate to the materials that you're sending? Relatedness is an important feature. Second, is it even relevant to the job they're doing? You might be teaching an undersecretary what a secretary should know. What if it means so? Makes no difference. Or you might be teaching a secretary what you're teaching undersecretary. So you design the curriculum for undersecretary. You think the same subject, na? And you teach it to a secretary as well as already speaking. Is it relevant to what I do every day? We have only seen three roles in government. Either you're doing operational work. We don't go by designation. My major job in commission, as I tell you slightly, it's not about a rule-based, मैं आज ऐसा हूँ, ऐसा हूँ, कल ऐसा बन जाऊँगा, उसके बाद अंदर सेक्रेटरी बन जाऊँगा, उसके बाद डायरेक्टर सेक्रेटरी, डायरेक्टर, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी, and depending on God favoring me, I can end up as Secretary of India. Government of India. So that is not the way we look. Those are designations for some administrative necessities, with specific functionalities of those designations. But we look at roles. We are moving towards a role-based academy. We only see three roles. For 10 to 12 years, the officer, depending on which cadre he is in, is mostly operational. He needs a different kind of application knowledge. In the next 10 to 12 years, he is very tactical. And then the last 5 to 8 years, depending on how energy was brought into the service, many of them don't even get there today because people get into service very late. Even if people enter at 21, they start operational level. You come at 37, also you have to start operational. So by the time you're 50, only then you're getting into tactical, whereas under your batsman who got in at 21 is already at the strategic level. So that is the reality of today's system, and we have to accept it. We work with that. But the point I'm trying to make is strategic level is not to me. But they need a different, completely different learning design, different way in which we present the concept. So relatedness, relevance. And the third, remember, if you want to be able to use the government officer or to the commission or to any ministry, if they cannot apply what they learn tomorrow morning when they come back to their jobs, the training is not something they see here. Because we want to make sure whatever we give them is applicable the next instant. If they cannot apply the knowledge, if Infosys laments that our engineering students need 18 months of reorientation to understand engineering in their campus, our engineering colleges are a disaster. They are not building engineers who can apply their knowledge immediately. Infosys can afford to have a large campus in Mysore, in a home city. It's one of the largest hotels the industry can run. 14,000 people can stay on the campus at the same time. They can afford it, but government can't. The government is restricted. We can't. We need people to apply tomorrow morning. That's the adventure of the work we have. And if somebody comes to you for training, we want to make sure whatever you told us as learning objectives actually operates in the next day he comes back to work on the field. That way it's of no use here. So do you know the content and filter it to this layer? It's application. We are not interested in you telling us a theory. We trust you, otherwise why will we send them to you? We trust that what you're teaching is what is right. But we are telling them to need to tell us how to use what you're teaching in their jobs every day. And that is the content design that you have to do. The next is the transaction methodology. You have content. You identify your learners in this type. You know exactly how we do facilitations. You know the content. But remember, transactional methodologies are also. Today, the world of virtual learning, they have just set up a very immersive learning center. We do not for indirect fact academy. Yes, we spent a fortune and ground, 21 crores. But every single kind of immersive digital learning, you can say, people challenge me and say, we can't do learning, digital learning in an immersive experiential way. We have recreated airport scanners. We have recreated drug testing machines for narcotics officers. Actual way they function every day. We have recreated interrogation rooms. What is the ideal room to what is the horrible room that we have today? They have to operate in both. They can't complain and say, the ideal room is chahiye. That doesn't work in reality. And it's a top-end campus. PM asked me why you did both. I said, we have to also graduate and evolve. You can't simply say we'll all get the test all over. It was slow transition. I asked the DGP visit. Today we have a learning opportunity for the customs. They by catch a lot of smugglers. We don't even know how safe our teaching people. We've never thanked public servants in our life. And I can talk about in this institution also. How many times I don't ask a question? How many of you travel by a public bus or a public train? How many of you, after you completed your journey, walked up to the driver and said, thank you for driving the station? How many of you walk up to the engine driver and say, thank you for coming on time when you came on? We don't. We simply presume public servants are thankful. That's a thankless job to be not thanked. Right? We never walk up to the Tahsildar when he gives a certificate and say, thank you for giving it to me. But let him delay by 2 days. Okay. ऐसा मांगने के लिए delay कर रहे हैं. We come down on them like a ton of bricks. So we are not even appreciating the treasures we are under. And I ask this question every single audience, and I realize that we don't thank them for the job creating. How many times would walk up to a soldier at an airport and say, thanks for protecting the border? Honestly, thanks. You have general sitting there. We just presume it's their job. It's such a hard job. They give their families, stay on, I have traveled on the borders and it looks so painful. I can't imagine me being as a tourist from government going there one day evening. But living there, day after day, with their families back there, but believing that they have to bet their life for our country, it's not going to be safe. When you talk to a Central Armed Police officer, a constable who's standing in the border, my heart bleeds. And not a single word of thanks they get from us. Because we have designed the society like. So I'm just saying all this because that is how public service is treated. There's a saying that it's here. You don't have to accept it. You have to reform it because that's the only reward they get. It is not, they don't get an incentive of bonus and etc. They just want a simple thanks from the people who are stakeholders to their job. And we can give it. We can do it. We can today start doing it. So for me, how do you create that environment? Our customs officers and inspectors, snatch some smugglers, brilliant work they did. They just never trained for it. It is accident they catch. And the problem is they catch them, but they never see the truth of the labor because our laws are wrongly specified. They can't file it. They have to take them to the local police and the police will file it. Police is least interested because credit unke liye add nahi ho. That's the reality of silos today. Customs officer doesn't get the credit because he doesn't register the case in those report. The police doesn't care because they'll always say customs can suppress it. But he can. How do you learn? Nobody forgets. Everybody forgets. Nobody even knows whether the fellow gets convicted of it because nobody keeps back after that in custody. So we realize how can you spread this knowledge of this instructor? He's creating knowledge. It was not knowledge which he had. Look at the learning ecosystem that we are trying to create in government. Because he's creating the knowledge. So we said we document all this. And that episode, I think we can't give too much knowledge because the evidence will be a problem. Enough knowledge that it doesn't publicly disclose too much. It goes into a central server. Learning designers convert it into simulations, into a virtual simulation. It comes back within a month back to the emotions center. The next batch of officers getting trained actually gets trained with a real problem of today. And I'll tell you how dynamic smugglers are. If once they get caught in a particular method, they never repeat it. And so we can't disclose, we know how. We have to do at least 6 7 months for a learning to be useful. Beyond that, there's no shelf life for that. But earlier, it will take 3 years to become learning, to become a case study. Today, in 1 month, it becomes learning. At least 5 more months, it will catch model. They are so quick that is, we can't allow any learning to be more than 6 months old. That is learning journeys of institutions. So, nursing today, I'm proud to stay in India. They have institutions like that. It is actually learning all the time and trying to make a product. From artifacts to smuggling to wildlife, to people find new methods. The more our government discovers methods to catch them, they discover more methods to do something else. So how do you learn transaction methodology? And the last thing I want to point out, ambience of learning. Please remember, even the institutional classroom, the room, this is a hierarchical zone. It was designed for 40 years ago. A man standing on the dais and talking, it itself wants in any hierarchy. Whether you like it or not, your brain is already processed, I know more, and therefore you know less, and therefore whatever I say may be correct. You may not agree to it, but subconsciously already gave me a tick box. So we cannot deal with government officers coming and get trained for you, this kind of a because to recreate the ambience of learning itself. That is why we are now relooking at the architecture of our academy. We have no control over it because only academy got created after CDC was born was national in Palestine. We have spent 500 crores. People might say, why the hell should we spend 500 crores? That is the cost of being a learning. Government of India can afford it. It's not a poor government or a poor country. And the real sign of growth is when you invest on learning of your officers. That's the best way to start them about that. I want you to learn all the time. I'll make that investment. Not, we are so narrow in our country. We want the best of knowledge for our officers, but we'll pay the resource setting 500 rupees a month. It's so unfair. That's the reality. We have to become a pennywise pound foolish. People out of concern for this nation, senior officers will come and share their experience because they believe it's their obligation to build a great country they come, not because of the candidacy. But we got to respect knowledge that gets contact. Make it we respect, they can donate to anybody they want. As they're trying to devise out. So creating learning is a huge thing. And I know, can take 10 minutes, please? So I'll quickly run through the slides. I won't take too much time. All of you want to go home. I have to only go have dinner and sleep, but we'll go home. So the Prime Minister decided in 2020 that we got to recraft. If you don't recraft the people who deliver on governance, the national governance model cannot change. And what is the governance model? 1947, our officers, we inherited a civil service which was created for a different functionality. They were serving a crown which treated us like subjects. So their job was law and order meant to them, don't allow Indians to fight for freedom. Very narrow definition. Not maintain societal, prevent anarchy in society. Only thing was, don't allow Indians to come together to fight for freedom. That was the law and order. And collect revenue. Primary responsibility. We inherited this. We never thought that they should be trained. But the problem was not just inherited the civil services, we inherited methods of training a civil service. The exactly same methods. We proudly say from 1950 our academy existed, from 1948 our academy existed. But our training methods also have been existed from them. Now we start changing all that. So when we are saying accreditation, we look at all. So what are we looking for? That time, India was a provider nation with 2% of GDP, half percent of global trade. Average life expectancy at birth was 35, 36, literacy rate of 33%. The state had to provide everything from making modern bread to something else, we had to provide. It had to regulate because if you don't regulate, you can't ensure redistribution. So by default, our officers learned it on this job. 70% learning happened on this job. They were not trained how to do it. And we have to commend all the people in those days. They did a damn good job. Other a ration shop doing the function. We had the world's largest distribution program even then. Very easy people understand it. Public distribution was top class because our officers simply learned on the job in detail. They might have made a mistake here or there, but they did it. 90s, for 45, 50 years, we teach them to regulate. Suddenly we say deregulate. But did we train them to deregulate? Did we train them to appreciate privatization? Till then, they were telling Bajaj, you can't make one extra scooter. Will I put you to jail to make it? And the next day, they're telling them that I'll help you make 1,000 scooters, more tell me how. Bajaj was as confused as the government. Right? That's a reality. So, and they have to learn again on this job. From regulating, which gives enormous powers, to deregulating, it makes you feel important and disempowered. It's not easy for you to accept it. Behaviorally. Imagine your father. You keep listening to him for 20 years. Suddenly, the next day, you come and say, you're an idiot. Sit down. I tell you what to do. How will your father say? Put yourself in the chair of predicament. You might actually say it as a different in different way. But if you ignore him gradually, maybe over 10 years, you say, my son has grown up now. You satisfy himself that way. Because tomorrow onwards, you say, you don't know anything about you're useless. You know, today technology makes us idiots. I know that. But we are not preparing a civil servant to a job which we are actually see, and then we expect them to perform top. And the funny part is, our civil servants don't have a performance standard at all. We all comment on the government, they're useless, they don't work. But what we don't know is that we're not even defined their work. We only have business rules, and we say do this. But they have no idea. They have learned it on their own way. And suddenly today Prime Minister says, providing ho gaya, provisioning bhi ho gaya. But today the Prime Minister is partnership problem. He says we need to bring the Team India to deliver a new India. Janbhagidari is my motto and governance mantra. Partnership is my mandate. How do you partner? What are the tools of partnership? It's completely different. Till yesterday, I've been seeing as a hierarchically superior. Today, and I control, my power comes from information asymmetry. And today, I have to say, I'm bringing information symmetry. Therefore, reduce my own power. It's asking somebody to commit suicide. And then each citizen is respect and humility. Suddenly shifts the entire narrative. It's not easy. But that's a demand on civil service. The chief executive of the country has set that mandate. CDC is mandated exactly. So how are we going to do? He said not only being a karmachari is great, taking salary and working for it is very good. If a prophet takes X amount of money and delivers properly, that is wonderful. But Prime Minister is not, expect nothing in return of any kind, not even the goodness of people's appreciation. Become a karmiyogi. That's the human. We cannot operate without appreciation. If after I finish this talk, you don't even clap. Imagine what happens in the psychology. We all hanker for the same. Padmanabhi doesn't say so. So Palu to Durana Cheba for Telagana. Because I didn't call him. Then I always feel bad. I'm not a karmi, because we are aspiring to be one. That journey is very painful, very difficult. That's what Chinese say. So what do we feel? Karmachari Bhav se Karmi Yogi Bhavana. Enormous amount of behavioral work. Then we're shifting the workplace itself. They're saying, no, the state has not capitalized on the talent of people because they never recognize what talent each person carries. Today, 3.2 million civil servants of government of India, we know exactly what is the competency level of each person. Huge work has happened in 3 years. We don't speak about it because I believe the more you speak about our work, the more opposition will be. Just quietly do your job, citizens will see the impact after 10 years, and then everybody needs to know I was again part of the job. So they have all come very inspired to work in the government. Why will a 21-year-old, this batsman has got an entry-level job, 1 crore rupee salary of society, someone take a 70,000 rupee salary job? Because he genuinely wants to serve this nation. The public service is not a fashion for them. They actually believe it. We attribute reasons that क्यों आएगा? शायद power के लिए आ रहे हैं. What nonsense? SDM power is power, I know. But that is not the reason it came in India. In India today, you can buy that power if you have a 10 crore rupee salary. But they come because they want to serve. How do you maintain that motive throughout the career? That's my job. Not only that, what tools you give. Today you're in agriculture. It's very funny. Dr. Jitendra Singh, our MOS, in charge of POPC, keep telling me this. He says, your job is complex. I asked him why. He said, आज हम agriculture secretary को appoint करते हैं. His job, we say, is to teach a farmer how to farm. And he has to tell the farmer with that authority, the farmer should believe that that guy knows more farming than me. And if he doesn't listen, he will not get subsidy, so he will listen for that thing. Tomorrow morning, we make him health secretary, he's telling all the doctors how to write prescription. And the doctors have to believe the children have more medicine than him. He said, how are you going to prefer this people? Because that's a real complex job. What tools can we use? What are the means we provide? And finally, yes, he's motivated. We're dealing with toolkits. But the chief minister says this fellow will not listen to me, so I'll post into some person commissioners any character. That's all. I don't have to worry about this. You don't provide the opportunity. My friends, you will not believe from, sir, from 1940s, they've been sending people to Harvard, LSE, Syracuse, all over the world, and we have no idea after they come back where they have been posted, how they have been used. And most of people I have interviews, and I'm telling you, I don't think anybody has given me a daily answer. They want to be used for the talent they acquire. Somebody specialized in health policy, they want to be posted in health ministry. Somebody specialized in climate resilient agriculture, they want to work in agriculture ministry, but we have no idea where they are because the states are different, national government is different, we sponsor the something else get them, the states get it buried, nobody knows where they are. Today we are telling DOPT that if DFFT is revived, it's DOPT's responsibility to writing the check to ensure at least 2 years that the government, whichever government, state or national, use them for what they are trained in. Provide them the opportunity. We have to bring in the necessary rigor for that. Otherwise, today, we are just accepting that political economy is reality. But if you don't renegotiate political economies, the government will not be a learning organization. We So we do that. And we're moving away from doing to role as a walkthrough. By doing all this, what we hope to achieve, by becoming a learning organization. And however we declared it, we are saying future-ready bureaucracy can happen only if lifelong learning. Because we are mandating 50 hours of learning per year. You can ask me how do you arrive at 50? Because we have done a competency plan for every single ministry, every single individual of government of India, as you know. And we think today, at the average level of competence they have, we at least need a minimum investment of 50 years to go to the next level of competence. Maybe 2-3 years, I think it will come down. Maybe it will come down to 10 hours. Maybe it will go up to 100. We don't know. So we are tight pricing it. Right now it's 50 hours. The performance will go up to the defined performance. Once government figures it, then it will be the way every individual, every ministry, the whole of government will be measured. Things are in place. Only then we know we are learning. Performance is keeping on increasing. We know the government is keeping on learning. Ensuring accountability, citizen centricity, future readiness, tech enablement. So this quickly go. It's a structure of how, because we report to PM, we get a lot of abilities to do a lot of things. And when we get in policies, the commission, we bring in policies also. The cabinet secretary heads the coordination committee of all cadre controlling secretaries. And that is where we were discussed. And anything that impinges on cadres and cadre controlling, they have resolved it for them. The structure is in place. So this is the model I want to talk about. I just spent 3 minutes and this time. What do you build capacity for? Like I am asking you, every training program that we send people to, we want an end objective. PM asks us, what are you doing to the country? And what are you building the capacity for? And we have to decide. So 2 years ago, we started on this journey to understand what is the capacity getting built for. So in the short term, we have the short-term aspirations PM has set, $5 trillion economy, Atmanirbharta, citizen centricity, tech enablement. Long term, we have Viksit Bharat as a topic. Today, the only nation in the world, we have got a lot of things to be proud about. We've got a strategic plan of 25 years. But it may not be a perfect plan. To the micro detail of what each ministry should do and how. Therefore, I know what am I building capacity for. If I'm talking to the foundation course, I came here today only because multiple things I could do. Come here, see the foundation course also because that foundation back is what is going to be here 25 years later. You and I are not going to be. And they are the ones building Viksit Bharat. And if they don't understand what Viksit Bharat is going to be, what capacity can they understand they have acquired? And we did a lot of work. I'll show you what we did. We spent hours. So only 4 or 5 things. Punch Pran is what PM said. So what does it mean by that? For most people, it's political snow grenades. But for us, it's the chief executive telling us what to do. And he said, we want to visit Bharat. He wants us to decolonize us, get away from the thinking that we are subjects of a crown. We are all citizens of a free country. We are masters of our own destinies. And the state is our partner in that. How do you do that? Take pride. Bharatiya Bhasha, Bharat is speaking. Labasna Irana leadership program, where we said every day will be a different cuisine from across India. Every day will be a different millet that we use in India. It's not a food of the poor. And all the food will be based on Ayurvedic principles, civilizational principles. Yoga will be compulsory. Take pride. And one day will be ethnic dressing. Why can't we dress like an Indian for one day? Right? We have become so naturally in dressing with somebody else that when we dress, we think we're special. If you wear a vesti and jubba and come people, say something is wrong. Actually, we should say if I'm wearing a coat and someone something is wrong. But we all got colonized to such an extent. We can't decolonize overnight, I know, but at least let's have to say. And how do we stay united? We have learned to fragment ourselves. Oh, I'm Telangana. Now, Andhra has become expert. I'm Andhra, I'm Telangana. What are Telugu? What the hell does it mean? No, we say I'm Kannadiga, I'm Bihari, I'm South Indian. Delhi में तो मैं हिंदी itself जैसे कि आप दक्षिण से हैं क्या? So what? Appreciate and make an effort to talk Hindi, no? I never spoken that language, today I'm speaking. I should be happy. But we always, because we are trained to practice. Both in between, like, we are one son. We are all Indians. Our identity is Bharat. That's all. It doesn't mean. And from that, we do the four pledges every civil servant to say. So your learning facilitation, it does not result in a man expanding these four pledges. Your course is useless. You may do a brilliant job, but it may be with some other sector, not for government. In government, we say, finally, we will contribute to India's growth and development. Inclusive, equitable, fair, and just growth. Will it enable pride in me? Will I feel proud that I've learned something today? I'm proud to be a civil servant. I got something extra in my heart. You design the course that way. How you package it is your problem. Every morning you may have 10 minutes of talking about something extraordinary. I don't know. But give the truth. We want you to teach climate resilience. We also want you to make him proud of that he knows climate. It's not arrogance of knowledge. It's about pride that I can be used with a betterment of the nation. And you are the prospective. We are no longer talking of rights-based approaches. We want a responsibility-based approach. My responsibility is to contribute to this. Team India should work for me India. Finally, there's no separation. For that, we say four gunas should come in. Yeah. Self-awareness, all the behavioral competencies you need, and we can't fight the battle alone. Samaj Sarkar Bazaar is a reality. State cannot drive development anymore. We have to change. We can facilitate. We can create the ecosystem for change, but we can't be the change makers all the time. So how do you work with others? How do you partner? Sahakarya. And state has to be efficient and effective. We have to make sure that we can have policies to work on it. That's the 21 functional competencies. Sub-competencies of 68. You learn those 21 and the sub 68, you've been exporting it in government efficient effective at different levels. But it is possible to trainable. The last is my dharma is to serve citizens. So how can we be citizen centric? We have developed citizen centricity too. We can measure citizen centricity. So we do all this. But finally, like I said, look at this point 6. We want to make sure that we drive the demand for you to design a program. And if you're going to come with a program book, brochure and send it to me, I will not even look at it. I will say, your program will be damn good, but till I feel the pressure too pinching for that program, I will not respond. Because for me, you have to respond to my shoe pinching and design a program for me, rather than I send people to choose your program. So nothing has changed. No longer supply driven. So please move into demand driven people. And it has to help. If these 6 are met, my competencies grow, then I have a reason for having 100 ASCI. So one ASCI can't deliver. The problem is so big. And that's why I need you see. If I can't get 100 ASCI, one ASCI is to do the job of 100 ASCI. So if you refuse to modernize and digitalize, if you don't join the Just see yourself as subject matter expert and bring in learning designers, bring in technology people to convert the learning design into the learning product. I can't build 40 million civil servants today. If I don't have the time. This country has spent too much time training only group A officers. There are only 100,000 group A officers in the 3.2 million that we are looking at. Rest 2.5 million officers are group and we have democratized learning as quickly as we can. You have to give us top quality online course because domain competencies are huge and we don't have domain suppliers. So ASCI must become an expert in several domains. You may not have all the expertise, but you have the power to convene the experts. Put together people who can work as a committee on developing top class materials, convert it and give us very good process. That is what we need. And then we need the next level. First is basic level, then is user level, the third is expert level. Very few experts we need. We need mostly basic and users. Users have to be hybrid or brick and mortar, but experts will mostly be brick and mortar. For that, we use a brick and mortar. The numbers are small enough for, but the numbers that I have, I use it to become basic level training. It's a thousands of people, not thousands, millions of people. How did we develop this competency? A lot of hard work is gone into. It is not simply an emotional thing. You said भारत की परंपरा के आधार पर होना चाहिए, किसी के दे देंगे चीज. 18 months to develop it, field test it, try it out, get experts to look at it. My colleagues around the world looked at it. They all gave their feedback. CHROs of India analyzed it, and today the pudding on the cake for me is the icing on the cake for me is top CHROs of India's largest companies are asking whether they can take to the music. That means it's a great knowledge. But its greatness can come only when we start training the people based on this and we can use those people, not the model. It means studying the PM, this teacher, we created a large language model to analyze his speech, monkey bar, teachers. We print out transcription of his monkey bar. So all the messages are available today. When we clicked on the code, we looked at every ministry. We had done 90 capacity building plan for MBO. We looked at each job description, the roles that they're playing and what competencies they are requiring. We looked at other countries, New Zealand, Australia, United States, UK, Japan, South Korea, Singapore. What are they doing? How are they doing it? We are open enough to learn OECD. We looked at UN. Then we said, okay, we got a lot of information. Now, what does India say? What does Indian wisdom say? What does the Upanishad say? What does Bhagavad Gita say? And it says a lot. They are not spiritual textbooks. They're not scriptures. They are how do you live your life every day? If you see it that way, then we picked it up. And we validated it. We tested it out. We put it in a few courses. We thought whether it's actually bringing competency. Then we did stakeholder consultation with different kinds of people. Finally, we rolled it out. And PM was not coming. 6 months we had to explain price of real data. And finally, I submitted this to March, April, so remember the date. We cleared it in October, and October 19th is when it became actually a competency failure, which means that's just understanding this model today. This is the national model. Any state that signs up with that is Telangana is my rupture signing. I think the file is with the CM. Andhra has already signed it. Will be followed. But will be state competent. So any government being trained, this model is going to be the foundation with a story. And then we are not emotional. I sent it to colleagues across the world. The please just tell me how good we are. It's not a good. There is without study. The perception view of experts in the field. I said, rate me according to what this competency will lead to a lot of things. Yes, we are weak because global alignment, we are not weak. We are weak because we were never proud the last 50 years to talk about India and Indian world. Even if it is Svadhyay, will say self-awareness to them. We never use translation. Teaching is something wrong. We live in a country where anglicization is better than talking in Hindi or in Kannada or in Tamil or Telugu. We are all brought up like that. So they will not understand our vocabulary. And therefore, I think it's a translational loss. I forgive them for this. But I have to strengthen leadership process because Singapore and Canada are partners. Though Canadian bureaucrats are now just not acting that way. But their leadership was much better. They actually the training model, competency framework model. So you have tested it also through 7 or 8 parameters. What are they? There are 8 core things. We cannot do without this core. As we evolve in the leadership ladder, The level keeps increasing to the leadership change. We've broken this down into 21 sub areas. Then there are 21 functional competencies broken down to 58 sub areas. All this you can get on our courses. If you open a course, you say what competency you get by doing the course, what's the name of the course, or you want to teach the course of behavioral competency, that competency is their self-analysis or poverty. In the both these from reading the coming of the course. Reading the coming of the course, you'll all be surprised, it's completely based on the Mahava. And it's one of the most popular courses because it actually works. And we apply the same principle, relatedness, relevance, applicability. So that's how you're making government a learning as well. And you have to support it. Cannot happen. We cannot over that. We are 57 people in the country. And we are still battling it out with the powers that be to give me more people, it never happens. The PM says, if you are not lean and mean, how can you think government to be lean and mean? Which means I work 7 days a week. I think everybody listening to be working all the time. But it's a joy and a privilege because I believe that at that moment of time in Indian history, when change is not just a possibility, change is becoming a reality. As we must change with others. Don't sit on past blame. Don't sit on a foundation of success. Benefits. But now craft a new success for yourself by joining the system. So the more people like you are with us, the more we can go faster, the more we can accomplish. So please make sure that your organization is ready. Your organization will be populated by community. Your organization understands that learning is a lifelong process. Your organization rewards performance. Your organization takes into accountability to deliver at highest standards that nation is in the your organization will take initiative. Finally, remember, every civil servant reads and you only see one city. I see thousands of citizens. So your work is not just one. I want to end with one story. I'm actually going to end there. President Kennedy, when he was a president of the United States, he set a target for the country. He said that we will put a man on the moon. He just said he's going to abstractly man on the moon. He set a date in the year. He said by this day, this year, this month, man on the moon, American will be on. He personally followed. He had an aspirational standard so huge. Most scientists around the world call it unachievable. Kennedy believes that leadership. He used to go every other month to Cape Town. To actually go around NASA to see, inspire the scientists, to see the progress, review and inspire. And one of his journeys he went. Kennedy, he was like our prime minister. He would never go to the planned route. If we go on some visit to prime minister to any institution, he also is like, we suddenly wake up to somebody, find something, and he come back and tell us, he used to discover more by his issues, and his CV goes into task. That's the reality of his operation. Kennedy was like, we should be walked out. So, and directors are very intelligent. They lay out the red carpet in a way where only that place was here. So, red carpet is not just respect, it's also demanding conformity of the way you walk. Without memory, route markers. Exactly. Yeah, route markers. And then Kennedy just walked away and he went into a toilet. As he was entering the toilet, there was a board which said, man at work. Maybe how you can walk in, he's the president of the United States. The janitor was cleaning the toilet. He looked at the man looked at Kennedy and says, hey, didn't you see the board out there? And Kennedy says, yes. And says, what do you mean, yes? You think to come inside. And he says, I'm working. President Kennedy looks at him and says, but dear man, don't you know who I am? The guy looks at him and said, does it really matter? And the story doesn't end here. Kennedy writes it down. The story doesn't end here. Then Kennedy says, but what are you doing? And then he looks at it, Kennedy finally see. And Kennedy now knows this man is not pretending. He actually doesn't know who I am. He doesn't say he is, but he looks at the man answers. He says, sir, maybe you've not heard. Look at that man talk with confidence. Maybe you've not heard. Our president has said by this date we have to be a man of mood. And I am helping do that. Kennedy says, what? We're cleaning the toilet. Don't tell me you're putting a man in the nose. He said, do you know where this toilet is located? It was closest to the leadership and the chief scientists of the. They are the ones who use this toilet. And every time they come into the toilet, I think of it saying that the toilet should be so clean that they can't catch infections and my surface. So I make sure that every day I clean, that they never, if they fall sick, they're not going to be here for a week. If scientists at that level don't come for a week, they can never put a man on the knee in the process here. By making sure my people don't fall sick because of my making, I'm making sure they're putting a man on the knee and following up the time. And friends, we have a choice today. Yeah. We can all be janitors cleaning toilets, or we can believe we're building a ecosystem. Thank you.